Welcome, welcome. I'm Catherine Rimstead. Thank you so much for being here to learn more about how you can love yourself even with anxiety. As the sign on this first slide says, you are worthy of love. I truly believe everyone is worthy of love. Um, I hope that didn't pop up on your screen, but if it did, I apologize. But I'm going to move on. One thing that I think is important just to take action and move forward. So if the old recording pops up on your screen, I recognize that and we're going to move along. So I want to honor your time, and I know that some webinars have information that isn't helpful or offer gimmicks, and I want to be sure today I deliver on my promises to offer you real support right here so that you can take steps forward on your own, as well as information about how I can support you if you want to move forward further than you can alone through coaching with me. So I'll go over the details of what the skills and actions you can take away with you are in a few minutes. I really appreciate you trusting me with your wellness and happiness and with your time. Before we get started, please do eliminate distractions, pay close attention, and take notes about what's important to you. And I want you to know that you watching this or even working with me one-on-one isn't a guarantee that your anxiety will just melt away. I don't believe that that's a realistic guarantee, and I wouldn't want to guarantee that for someone. But I do truly believe that if you become a client or even find other ways to take consistent action, make leaps of faith, and get needed support, such as through these tips, you can truly learn to love and take care of yourself for such a more happier life than you are having right now. And if anxiety is currently ruling your life, it doesn't need to do so, and you can change that. As I said, to get results, you'll need to take action, be willing to do some things that might seem strange, and keep starting fresh, getting support, and listening to yourself. If you're someone who takes action like this, what I'll show you today will give you what you need to start loving yourself with practical actions, deeper understanding, and shifting your anxiety so you need no longer feel it on a regular basis. So here we go. Who is this for? You are in the right place if you're tired of being overwhelmed by all there is to do and saying yes to things other people want when your schedule is already booked. You don't have time to even take a shower or get a massage, much less, and this webinar is for you. Also, if you want a life where anxiety is not ruling you, like I said, with self-love first, so you can be there deeply for family, friends, and for your dreams, this is for you. On this webinar, you will learn 2 ways to start to build self-trust and connection to intuition that you can also use to delve more into your anxiety, how to create a basic self-care plan when you have 15 minutes and 1-minute options, the requests you can make of others so you have external support, how to say no to others while having care for them, and a process to connect with your values and explore habits to support them once you're in a more self-loving space. Do be sure to stay to the end because I am offering a little, there it is, access to a self-love list and an anxiety support list that will be gifts from me if you stay to the end. So before we get started into the information, I want to check in with you one more time to see where you are currently. And just if any of this sounds like you, you'll know you're in the right place. Are you feeling anxious or worried on a weekly or even a daily basis? Are you unsure what would be the best choice in regular situations? Does it seem like you say no, but then end up doing something anyway that you didn't intend to do? Are you getting upset with your loved ones because you're tired and worn out? Does it seem like your dreams to make an impact in the world are far away? And maybe are you even just feeling so lost? I have experienced these, and if you're experiencing this is for you. How much time are you spending feeling overwhelmed or anxious, unsure and discouraged, scared of anxiety, and just plain exhausted? If any of this sounds like you, I can tell you that this is not the real problem and you have a chance to make a change. So the real problem is right here. It's not your anxiety itself that is the problem or what caused it. It's that you haven't been given the skills and encouragement to really take care of yourself first. We generally aren't taught these skills, and instead, as women, are often encouraged to take care of everyone else. So the problem is that you need to have those skills and someone to support you to find what works for you. If you had the system, multiple strategies that were finding one to work for you and support, you could come back to calm and joy in times of stress. Your loved ones would feel cared for and care more for you in return. You'd be confident that you will only do what you feel is the most important, and you can make changes if something doesn't work. You'll generally feel rested and rejuvenated and grateful. And anxiety and worry will no longer scare you on a regular basis, even if you have them in your life. Yes, you can create a life that is full of self love. Look at anxiety as not a big deal and do what is most important to you using what you learned today. If anxiety comes up later, you will be able to make a restart, start fresh. When you do this, you will have more time because you'll choose what you want to do. You'll have more confidence in your choices. You'll have a sense of self love and self respect that you can share with your loved ones, and a generally contented life with peace of mind. Like I said, even if anxiety comes up, you'll have those reset abilities, and you'll know that your life is a wonderful life, and you know that those anxiety parts are just parts of your life, and you'll know how to deal with them. So before we go into the details, I want to just share a little bit about me, so you know who I am and why you should pay attention to what I'm saying. Um, so I love myself and take care of myself with practical daily activities, and I know how to adjust and listen to myself. But this is because I shifted my regular panic attacks after being actually sexually assaulted about 10 years ago. So I no longer live fearfully of anxiety. And when anxiety comes up, even if it's a tricky bit, which does happen sometimes still for me, I can do that reset like I talked about. I can be like, oh, that was hard. Here I come back. And a lot of the time when it comes up, I can hit it off and it doesn't get to any difficult points. It's just a low level anxiety. And then sometimes there's none. It's just so different. Now I can trust in the joyful and the silly times and in my loving life. There's my son and I outside there. And I helped a client to stay out of the hospital. I'll go into that in more details, but I'm living my dreams, including coaching, developing that, taking the leaps that I need for that, being a mom to my son Joey there, and I'm an author. I continue to study and explore and listen to myself and others to learn more how to serve my clients. I will recommend for you, keep trying to keep looking around to see what's best. I'm curious. I'm willing to explore. And most importantly, maybe I would say, um, is that I am there for my clients. I really serving my clients is a big passion for me. That's why I want to do coaching, is to help folks, especially who are dealing with things like I did, to really shift their life and make an impact in the world and just be happy and loving and joyful. So I'm really want to be so totally there for my clients. And at the same time, because I'm working on self love and self trust and have that pretty solid in myself, that I'll take care of me if needed. So, yeah, moving on. Um, oops, just a little more. My life was not always like this. Um, oops, I went way too far. Sorry about that. Back up. Okay, back up. Okay, so just briefly, as I mentioned, I was sexually assaulted in 2007, and I'd actually had low level anxiety before that. But after that, I experienced fairly regular panic attacks, so I didn't even know that's what they were at first. I went about my life, made an impact in my community. I was volunteer organizing with an organization working for a more peaceful world, but and enjoyed a lot of moments. But then I would suddenly have trouble breathing, feel like I was like drifting away, just feel so sad and anxious and lost, and it was overwhelming, and I didn't know what to do. Um, so I just kind of kept making my way through it and varying degrees of pain and fear, and then kind of went into the joy again and then waited for it to happen again, and was really scared of it, and kind of surprised and everything, because you know in a lot of ways my experiences wasn't as bad as some people's, and I was moving along. So now on to the next slide, hopefully. Okay. Sorry. There we go. Why it sucked, they say, is what the slide says. So this really did stink or suck because I was meeting and becoming close with amazing people, starting to make an impact for that more peaceful, loving world that's so important to me. And then I would fall into this anxiety and fear and doubt and like even have trouble breathing and such. And so I just, yeah. So once I was breaking down, like in a meeting, not a meeting, what do you call those things? A fair, and I was introduced to a coach, and that was kind of my first step. So after trying to get help from professionals, including somebody who was supposed to help people who had been assaulted, where it really was not a good fit, there was hope. So here we go. Discovering the secret. For me, the secret is that there isn't one secret that works for everyone to shift their anxiety and take care of themselves. That's not realistic, I don't think. The secret is finding that deep self love and self trust. That's the part that's true for everyone. And then be willing to do what needs to be done to keep coming to that spot for you and to keep starting fresh and go deeper to what needs to be done for you to get what you need. So the secret also is reaching out for help to get to that space, not feeling like you have to do it alone. Yes, you can read a lot of books, you can look online, there's so many resources. But like I said, for me, finding that coach, that was kind of a part of the secret, was finding that person who was in my corner and who, was in that frame of exploration and, dedication, but also offering me different things to find that loving space for myself and to shift the anxiety in practical ways too. So the skeptical try is that trusting that coach, especially after, that experience I mentioned with the um, sexual assault support person, therapist, basically, who was not a good fit for me. And trying new things with this coach, um, that I kind of was surprised about, and acknowledging that I even had a panic attack. All of that was scary and at certain times, but I did it. And here I am today, where anything resembling a panic attack is a big surprise if it happens. And where, like I said, I can shift it when it does happen. It's so much less scary, so much shorter. I don't have to be afraid of like panic and anxiety like ruling my life. I used to feel like it's getting worse and worse and worse. I can choose love. I can speak about love. I can speak about my anxiety even. I fulfilled a dream by being a mother to an almost 3-year-old at this point. I don't know, he might be older by the time you hear this, but and just continuing to make a loving impact on the world. I published my first book in 2011 of poetry and photos. I know there's going to be a lot more to come in my life because of the changes I've made. So moving on, I want to just share a little bit more about a case study or two, and then we'll get into the content. I know that's partly why you're here. So just quickly, one of my clients used to say yes to so many things and just not trust herself. She would have multiple events at the same time, even on her calendar. She was overwhelmed by stresses, didn't have good self-care, was trying to save the world, felt like she had to take care of everybody else. And this is the person I mentioned that had even gone to the hospital in the past to take care of her mental health. And now she says no, she prioritizes. She actually has moved on and is continuing to reach out to me as needed and to other people, but she's not working with me one-on-one anymore. She trusts and takes care of herself. This past year, she kept herself out of the hospital, as I mentioned, through self-care and reaching out. She's been making her home a loving, beautiful space and continuing to make an impact in the world. Another client didn't realize how much anxiousness or worry played a role in her life. She felt focusing on loving herself was selfish. She realized loving herself doesn't mean she has to love others any less. And she learned practical habits, which my other client also, that I mentioned also learned. But in this case, there wasn't like extreme, anxiety, but it was like that worry and anxiousness. And now that she has practical habits to reduce procrastination, help her prioritize, worry less, take better care of herself. if you put this to work in your life, you will not have to feel lost and alone often and discouraged like I have, and like I'm guessing you have. Unsure how to change how you react on a regular basis with loved ones, have your dreams slip by the wayside, feel anxiety rule your life, or feel like you're doing it all while not doing what you most want to do. So, are your current choices and support systems getting you the loving, contented life you want, where you tend to yourself, your loved ones, and your dreams for the world? If not, you can love yourself again and prioritize what matters most to you, even with anxiety. So there are 6 pillars that make all this work. Here's the content, folks. Hopefully that first part was useful too. So first part, pillar 1, as we call it. The first step is trusting yourself, connecting with your intuition, and then practicing and strengthening this muscle to know what is important to you and be able to ask yourself for clarity. So I'm going to just share a brief exercise called playwriting, adapted from Tim Kelly, and then a quick, easy exercise to build the trusting yourself muscle that will give you 2 resources to build self-trust and intuition, like I said was my first promise to you. So check out Tim Kelly's True Purpose for more, but basically there's a playwriting exercise and a meditation exercise in there, and they're kind of similar, but the meditation is a little more traditional. You close your eyes and it's a guided meditation. You can look at it there. But the playwriting exercise really resonated with me and is a little different, I think. So I wanted to share that one with you. So the way that I do it is I pop up my computer, but some people like to write by hand. And I kind of envision, at least at the beginning, later it's really quick, which is partly why I like it, I think. But at the beginning, I kind of might close my eyes and envision an intuitive part of me or a wise part of me, or some people have a name. I do have some names for them. Some people, I'm not religious, but some people might turn to a religious person. And yeah, have that guide with you, that inner knowing. And if you don't have a connection to an inner knowing yet, kind of make one up. This is where it's a stretch. This is where you stretch yourself if you don't have that. Call it love, call it, you can borrow my names and maybe some of that energy will come to you. I have heart, soul as one. And although I don't consider it necessarily a goddess per se, the idea of the earth, Mother Earth goddess, I call her Meg, just this image. And so if you like either of those, borrow them and play with them, or just call it, intuitive fun, curiosity. And then you put that name and imagine that person and your name down on the paper, and you go back and forth as a play would do. So you start with yourself. You say, hi, they say hi back. You say, oh, I've been feeling so lost lately. What would you suggest? And just try to listen. And it's not about, it might come out, whatever comes out is what you write down. So that's the key. And I think for me anyway, just writing it down was helpful. Back and forth, asking the questions. And like I said, there's a meditative one, basically just to give you an extra tidbit, just talking to that person, in your head, in your mind, in your heart, and getting some influence from there that way. Let's see. And the other resource, the other resource is the idea of a coin toss, or any other way, but that's an easy way. So it's just learning to trust yourself about even little things, because for some of us, including me, this was a big deal, which restaurant to go to. There was a time when things like that were like really stressful, after the assault and everything. So flipping a coin and trusting the answer, and then trusting that if it doesn't work, you can change your mind, giving a little more up to playfulness and curiosity. And then after a while, noticing if you flip the coin and it feels yucky, do the other, So that's what I wanted to offer for that pillar 2, taking care of yourself in difficult times. And I will add that in pillar 1, I go more into values and things like that too. So you can ask your intuition for suggestions. Notice what has worked and get support to find what works in difficult times. And make variations a habit. So variations a habit. I don't think that's the right word. And make various, things, various tries of things a habit, so they are an easy go-to, as well as working with me or someone else to find what works in the moment of most stress. So there are also key practices, including pausing and breath, gratitude and celebration, deepening love, noticing feelings and values, deepening intuition and self-trust more, joy and laughter, all those things that we could go into, focusing on what matters. There's NVC, nonviolent communication needs and values. And like I said, I'm so open and really committed to exploring to see what works. So again, I want to just share some easy things today. So today I'm going to share with you 2 go-to easy actions that you can take in 15 minutes or less to support you and guide you to connect with your intuitions more. The bonus will also provide you with some more additional support in this area. So, I wonder if I made a mistake. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Sorry. Okay. I have notes and I flipped to the next slide and it didn't match up. So the go-to actions. I mentioned the breathing. So for me, deep breathing is so essential, and it doesn't have to be like in a certain way, just breathing in and breathing out makes a huge difference. And if you make the out breath longer than the in breath, that will really slow things down for you, really bring more calm and ease. Doing that again, if you're in a place where you can, raising your arms up and bringing them down. But you know what? You can do this when you're in company. If you need to, you can also pop to the bathroom or something like that if you can. But taking a deep breath can be done in company, kind of subtly. And another little tidbit is that you can kind of do something to like focus on that breath more. It kind of reduces distractions. And for me, one of those is what I call doing the ABCs. So I breathe in on A and I breathe out on A all the way to Z. Again, if I have the space. If I don't have the space for these, longer things, I do some breaths, and I sometimes pick a spot to tap on gently, like either physically if I can or in my head. And if you review the EFT, emotional freedom technique, you can get more about this. But one of them that I like is, right on my heart. Another one is just right between my eyes. So those are kind of 2 little tidbits there. And then asking your intuition, if you were able to connect with it in that first pillar, that is so key. Ask your intuition, what would you suggest I do? And just being playful with it. If something strange comes up, do it. If nothing comes up, then you suggest something and ask your intuition if that sounds good. Or trust your intuition, whatever pops up first on a search on the web. So those are all some quick things you can do. And again, having them practiced so you can use them in difficult times. All right, this is the one I'd skip to. So deepening your external support network is so important. So think about who you want to be your support system and pick people who you know are or you believe are going to be understanding. And if they're not, pick someone else, and then think about how you want them to support you. Specific, what requests do you have? What would you like? So I want to just guide you in a couple of sample requests so that you can adapt them for your support network. So depending on what they know about your situation, you can just say, I've been feeling overwhelmed, anxious, worried, whatever word you feel comfortable using a lot lately. Would it be okay if I call you when I'm having difficulties? And would it be okay if you just listen to me? Or if you want something different, would it be okay if you come over and sit with me if you need that personal, contact? Would it be okay if you remind me this thing? Maybe you have a core, and pillar 2, a little bonus would be to have a little mantra. I don't think that's in here anywhere, but something like I am safe, this will pass, I am love. Ask that person to remind you of that. Asking what you want so that they don't not know what to do or do something that doesn't really support you is so essential. Another request would be that same sort of thing, or if they already know about the anxiousness, I've been feeling anxious a lot lately, and I noticed that I really don't have a lot of regular support. Would you be willing to have a call with me once a week, or however often would be supportive to you? And a little bonus, if they say no, or if they say, oh, that's I'm not sure if I can do that. Find something that they can do, or like I said, find someone else. Don't let that throw you off. Um, and suggest how often. Maybe you only want to have a call for like 10 minutes or even 5 minutes. Maybe that would be doable for them. Maybe they think you want to talk for an hour. Be specific. Another idea would be, it would be great if you could send me an inspiring email on Monday and Friday mornings by 10 a.m. or something like that, as those tend to be difficult times for me. If they are, that's an example. Again, you could say, could you send me this mantra, at those times? Okay, moving on. A quick little case study, my experience. There's me a couple years ago. So let's see, there it is. Learning to truly trust myself and connect with my intuition has been so essential, like we've talked about in the last couple slides, to my deeper commitment to a trust in love and self-love, especially after being sexually assaulted, and helped me to see some other levels of anxiety I have too. This process and commitment helped me to keep exploring ways to support myself and supporting my anxiety, including those panic attacks. And it's meant that if something doesn't work for me, I trust that and I do something different. When that therapist was not a good fit at first, that really threw me off for a little bit. Like, here's this person who's supposed to be, there for me, and it wasn't working. So, that's at this point not the big deal. Go to somebody else. I can do that now. Let's see. Okay, one more little case study real quick. I helped one long-term client. She was shifting on relying on me less to really notice and connect with her internal support system and continue to build that and know how to build that. And also her external support system that we just covered. She has a big external support system, but she realized that some folks were not supportive in the way she wanted, and that some of them, didn't know what to do for her. So for someone so social as she is, she realized that she could really ask for what she needed, and hadn't really been doing that. All right, here we go. A few more pillars and we will be done with the content, and you will hopefully have some good resources. I hope you've been jotting down the activities. So exploring boundaries and values in community. As I said, we'll have talked about values for yourself and the other ones as we connect with self-love and self-trust. But exploring what you most value and how you want to live in community with these values is really important. And that's partly the making real time for self-care and self-love. So I want to just share some guidance about saying no with Care for All, because that is so hard for some of us, especially with anxiety, and especially for those of us who might be moms. So saying no to someone or something that they request is saying yes to something else, especially to your self-love and self-care, and to a caring relationship with this person in its way too. If you say yes to something that someone wants and it's not a real yes, it's not really respecting that caring, that relationship you have. So if somebody says, for example, let's say, can you take me to the airport tomorrow morning at 6 in the morning? And you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot do that, but I will, is what you would usually say. You'd somehow find a way. You'd either take your kids with you if you have kids, you'd, do something and make it work. Instead, you can say, oh, I really am realizing I can't do that. But, let's say that you have the money resources. I'd love to support you in getting an Uber to the airport, and maybe they don't know how to set that up. You say, well, I'll set it up for you, something like that. And it's also important to share why it's a no for you, the values that you're taking care of, saying, well, I really don't think it would be safe. Maybe that's what it is. It's so early and I've been anxious lately. I don't think it would be safe for me to drive you there. And I want to, take care of both of us. Or, I really need my sleep. I'd love to have the Uber take you and then have some time just to connect with you when you get home. Something like that. All right. Pillar 5, relating with anxiety and blocks. So noticing any remaining fears, as by this time, if you were working with me or if you're kind of setting up a process for yourself, bringing that through so that you have made all this progress, but you know that there's more. I think of it as a little spiral. Like I said, I still have anxiety. So noticing remaining fears, anxieties, blocks, connecting with them. You're not having to be scared of them, using your intuition and new ideas to shift them. So, like it says there, you can adapt that Tim Kelly script writing, and it's not like he's the only one who does that sort of thing, but he's the one who I was introduced to, and I like the way he shares it. So, for connecting with anxiety and blocks. So, in other words, talk with your anxiety. Say, hey, I noticed you're still here today, or you're really here today, anxiety. Again, to be playful, you can give it a name if you want, rather than just anxiety. What are you really wanting? Play with that. See if it supports you. The same with blocks. I also would suggest just briefly consider exploring EFT. I will preface it with sometimes deep things can come up during EFT, and so I wouldn't do it without somebody else there that feels safe. And with all of this that I shared, I should have prefaced this, it's all on you are the owner of your life. So, get the support you need, get a professional therapist as well as a coach, or, at least get friends to help you, because, you're making the choices to explore this, and sometimes deep stuff can come up. And, or sometimes you're not sure which way to go, and you have to make that choice ultimately. So you need the support there to give you that, support to try different things and to take a pause if it's too much and things like that. So I should have said that earlier, but saying it now. Pillar 6. One thing I think, as I've said, I've noticed is just going for it. So I'm going for it with this slide, these webinars, even though it's not perfect. So there you go. So pillar 6, moving forward with more self-love and care. So as you're deepening your self-love, using intuitive practices and other ways to connect on a daily basis, you'll want to establish habits for your more loving life for yourself, your family, and your dreams for impacting the world. So I want to just connect you with your values, like a little process to connect with values and action steps or habits to support you. So I invite you to close your eyes if you can, or if you're comfortable. And anyway, imagine yourself doing something you really care about. Why does this matter to you? This thing that you care about, or maybe it's something that brings you joy and self-love. If it's, or maybe it's connecting with somebody. Why does this matter to you? You can pop up if you need some support in getting to the deeper whys. NVC. cnvc.org, I believe it is, or just type in NVC and needs list, and there'll be a list of needs or values that you can connect with if you're kind of having trouble thinking of core values. So, for example, for me, one of the things that really I care so much about is my son, and, having a joyful, loving life and connection with him, and, him feeling that unconditional love. And so one of the values is love there. And connection is another value with that, I think. Trust. And I guess making a difference for him and really being there and caring for him. So I don't know if there's a single word for that, but that would be an example. Or if it was that joy piece of things, being outside and smelling a flower gives me like a deep, visceral sort of joy. So beauty and the senses, really connecting to my body is some of that. So then from those values, think about one small thing you can do to kind of reconnect those values on a regular basis. So like it says, a few action steps or habits to support those values. So like my value of love, one of the things that I do that I kind of get out of the habit of doing and then I come back to, and I've come back to it again lately, is a sort of I call it Reiki love. It's partly connected to Reiki and partly connected to like a loving essence where I connect to myself and all the way to everyone and everything and nothing with love. And I do that every night. And doing that regularly is so helpful to me. And when I fall off of it, I notice, or sometimes I don't notice right away, but then it's like, oh yeah, I haven't been doing that. So that's a habit. So that would be my suggestion, and that's something I would do a lot more with if we were working together. So that was the beginning. So now you have a deeper understanding about how to have a more loving life with self-love, even with anxiety. So those are the sort of beginning tips. It's really important to avoid the mistakes that others overlook because, you know, sorry, I got distracted by my notes were a little different again. So don't make the mistakes that others overlook by, not having support and not taking each step as you need and not being willing to do new things. Um, it's just knowing the basic system and strategies, A to Z, yes, but like any different A to Z includes things that work for you. So adapting them with support, that's the secret sauce to making it all work, It's not just about a system, it's about the support and it's about being playful and curious and consistent and sort of persistent, so that it's second nature to love yourself and so that you come back to that second nature with anxiety and so that anxiety is not this huge deal all the time. That's the secret to making it work for you. So, yes, you can create a life that is full of self love. Look at anxiety as, like I said, not a big deal, not this huge deal like it sometimes like it would feel often for me. And do what's most important to you using what you have learned. That should say you have learned today. Today I promised. Oops, go back, go back. Today, I promised 2 ways to start to build self trust and connection to intuition that you can use to delve into your anxiety, which I shared. How to create a basic self care plan. We have 15 minutes and 1 minute options. So, those were some of those things like the breath and the longer breathing exercises. How to make requests, how to say no to others while having care for them, and a process to connect with your values and explore habits to support them once you're in a more self loving space. So, I think I gave that. So here's what you need to do this on your own to succeed. You need to make a commitment to succeed and start taking fast action. Taking action is so important. You need to follow a time-tested, proven system or roadmap, but know that it's going to shift for you. Know that part of that tested roadmap is to keep being curious. And you need to locate someone who is really good at this. You don't need to do this, but it's wise to do this and have them help you. I guess you don't need to do that, but that will cut down the learning curve. So seriously consider finding that to change your reality. Okay. So my system is a proven blueprint to have you living a life with self-trust and self-love as your backbone, your heart, so that when your world is rocked by anxiety, because like I said, I'm not going to promise it's not going to happen, or whether it's even rocked by something else like grief, um, I personally believe that there are strong feelings that we have because things happen, so it's about being with those and then moving through those and moving on and not poo-pooing them, but not being stuck in them either. So you can do this, and this can be your next best step to take control and use my system. So in the next 30 to 45 days of using my system, you can trust more of your decisions and know what's important to you, have numerous practical ways to support yourself when feeling anxiety, overwhelm, or stress, have habits of self-care and then supporting your values of dreams, and have a solid external support system, also important. So what would having a life where you confidently make choices that serve you, have regular space in your schedule for things that make you feel cared for, laughter comes often to you freely in your loved ones, and you don't have to fear anxiety will rule your life? What would that look like? And maybe an even better question. Oops, I skipped it again. Let's go back. An even better choice, an even better way to think about it is flipping the question. So what's it costing you to not have that? I think back to the time of that, panic and what it was costing me to be living that way. What's it costing you to not have confidence in your choices, laughter more often, the trust that you're not going to be stuck in this anxiety Or maybe you're not like me. Maybe you don't have that like extreme anxiety and panics come up, but still to be worried and, stressed, it's like, oh, just costing you. What is that costing you in your life and your family? What's it like to fear that, worry is there and to think about worry all the time? Are you missing out on a more joyful, restful life where you can follow your dreams? Your family is happy for you and sees their dreams as possible too, I know that's important to those of us who have family or friends that are close to us. So you have a choice. That's the good news. You can take what I've been talking to you about and do something about it now if you feel able to do that. And if that seems like enough, or you can do what you've always done and just, things will be like they are. And if you're still here right now, then probably you want to make a change. So if you're truly ready to make more connection to your intuition and values and have practical plans to take care of yourself, saying no and yes with confidence and getting your external support system working so you're shifting your anxiety, here's what I have for you. You can book an hour-long call with me to move forward on your self-love and care for yourself, even with anxiety, so we can figure out if it's a fit to work together. I have the little link there, and you basically go there, you select a time, and then fill out the information that's sent to you, and we can see what the next steps are. All of this, I just want to say this is not for everybody. So, I will check in with that after you fill the questions out. You need to be committed to making a change, willing to do the strange things, really wanting a self-love and a loving life for all, willing to share honestly about your experiences, concerns, and feelings, and taking consistent action. Those are all really important. If that's you, again, go to that spot and book a spot. So just to tell you, because you might wonder, I'm offering these limited free strategy sessions because, like I said earlier, I really know what it's like to be, in that panicky, anxious space. And I know a self-loving you can make our world better because, like I said, I'm passionate about loving world in general. And I will just be perfectly honest, it's also a great way that I can find new clients because if it's a fit when we're on that hour-long call, we'll know. And so it's a good way to really know rather than, someone finding you, online and having to do like a whole conversation, online or anything. This is a really great way. So there's the spot one more time. Book your spot. I do have some limitations on the spots because here, just with my calendar. So the sooner you get on there, the better. And I will say that, if during the conversation we see it might be a fit, I'll discuss it further. But if you don't want me to discuss it further, you can even just tell me. There is absolutely no pressure. The main thing I want to do is support you in a more loving life for a more loving world. Oops, just to cover it one more time. Um, when you go to the link, you'll get an email from me with some questions. Make sure our time is productive and make sure that it's likely to be a fit. I'll give you a call at the number you provide me and set aside that full 60 minutes so we can have plenty of time to come up with next steps. And I think the link might be for 45 minutes. So if it is, then I'll check on that. That might be enough time. I'll kind of check on that as time goes on. But if you kind of preserve the 60 minutes, that would be great in case. 45 plus a little 15 after. Let's see. And I think that's about it. Let's see. We did this. Thank you for staying. So the last thing to do is to email Catherine@wholelovingwellness.com with the subject line to webinar list to receive your gifts that I mentioned at the beginning. Unless you say in the email that you want me to, I won't, keep your email or respond to anything else. If you say that that's okay, then I will. So you could mention that in the email. You could say to webinar lists and keep up with me if you'd like to be kept up with. And please go to that link to book your strategy session if you haven't already. Thank you again so much, and with very deep love to you and to everyone. Bye-bye.